Okay, what's up guys? How you doing? My name is Mel. Welcome to Holmzlaw. Today we are live on Discord, okay? And I'm going to be recording it and posting it on YouTube. Okay, so for those that missed it, you will be able to listen to it on YouTube, as you may be doing already right now. Okay, so today is gonna be a few different topics. We don't have a set topic today. We do have a few questions that were sent in from for some members, and I will get to those. And there are a couple of topics. Last week it was a little bit more for the apprentice. I'm gonna try to get this week uh catering more to like the mechanic, maybe junior mechanic, maybe even the apprentice too as well. It's nothing that's too out of the norm, but yeah. So just basically, I'm gonna be speaking about a few different topics, and I'll be speaking randomly. I don't have a set, well, how would you say? I don't have a set list of that I'm gonna go down a list by. So I'm just gonna go ahead and freestyle here. All right, for you guys and gals. Now, basically, last week we were talking about with Smitty too, one of the community members here on Discord, and we were saying something about the plumb bob, that the electrician should basically start off by learning how to use a plumb bob. Okay, and today actually all week I was getting questions on what is a plumb bob. Okay, for those of you that don't know what a plumb bob is, it's mostly because electricians don't really use them that much. It's more for like carpentry, but we do use them, randomly here and there for installing light fixtures and whatnot. The thing is that during these times we've gotten so used to using lasers with the crosshairs. Okay, the crosshair type laser, the ones that give you the lines. We've gotten so used to using those that we've forgotten all about the plumb bob, which is now the digital one, the laser plumb bob is actually just simply a dot. Okay, a dot that you can transfer from the floor to the ceiling or from the ceiling to the floor. Okay, so that's all it basically is. It's that laser that you can actually, it's just basically shooting up a dot. That's all it really is. And if you mark the dot on the floor, your center spot on the floor, it's basically a reference of the center spot. All right, now if you mark that center spot on the floor with your laser, okay, you can actually, you know, there'll be a laser shooting out from the bottom of the actual device, and you can line it up that way, okay, and then at the same time it's going to be shooting up that same dot up to the ceiling, so you'll know exactly where that point is. You'll be transferring it from the ceiling down, okay, so it's just a direct straight line from the ceiling down. That's all it is. Now, before the laser came through, it was just pretty much a string connected to the plumb bob, which it was a wooden contraption with a piece of metal at the end of it. And if you guys didn't know what it looks like, just look it up, and Google it, and you guys will see what exactly it is. Um, it still is a plumb bob, even though it's a laser now. We still call it a plumb bob. You know what I mean? So I hope that answers your question. For those that asked the question, I hope that helps. If not, I think you should just Google it, and then you'll see exactly what it is that we're talking about here. And that's one of the points that we were making, well, Smitty was making, is that you should actually master the plumb bob first. Learn how to use that, okay, and then the actual laser, the crosshair lasers, will be so much easier for you to actually pick up and learn how to use, okay, because some apprentices, and they won't know, and nobody really teaches them. You think you just you put the laser down, and that's it, it's automatically straight. That's not true. You have to straighten it out, because the laser's not going to automatically square itself. You know what I mean? And if you don't know what I mean, you need to watch some of my videos. And I actually don't go in too much deep into actually how to square a laser, but I do give you some pointers. And if that's something maybe you think I should do a video of, then just drop it in the comment right now. Let me know that you want a video. You know, teaching you more on how to use the laser. Just drop a comment right now, and then you let me know, and I'll put that on the list. You know what I mean, guys? So just yeah, if that's something you think you want to learn, and you don't know enough of, just let me know. Reach out to me, and I'll try to do a video as soon as I can. All right. So moving on. So yeah, last week it was basically we were speaking about lasers and whatnot. And it was more about what apprentices should learn. As they're coming up, what's the most important thing that you should learn? And so moving on for this week, I wanted to talk about you know maybe let's say you're a 3-year apprentice, or you consider yourself a junior mechanic. You're working up to mechanic status and whatnot, and you've been bending conduit for a little while now. you know um it's about time now that you actually start thinking ahead, okay, and start playing chess instead of checkers now, okay. So now you got to start thinking 7, 6, 10 moves ahead of the game. All right. And one of the topics that I wanted to touch upon is trying to stop making pointless bends when you really don't have to. Okay. Um, One way of doing that too is, using your junction boxes. Okay, using your junction boxes. If you know you're gonna use a junction box on your run somewhere, and you could avoid using, making a bend and using the box in place of that, then so be it. Then that's something that you should do. Not only that, but another thing that you need to think about is with your junction boxes is the knockouts. Okay, you need to know when to use the center knockout and when to not use the center knockout. Let's just say it's just a regular simple run, and you want to use the center knockout just to make it look nice and you know and even, and everything is on center. That's fine. But if you know that you might have to come out of that box again, then you need to know where to place your conduits then. Okay, you need to know how to face your box and whatnot, and know how many times you're gonna come out of that box. You know, um, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people make mistakes, and they've had to actually replace the box, or whatnot, or use KO seals and all that other good stuff too as well. All right, so it's all about planning. Actually, when you become a conduit bender, you need to sometimes sit down and actually look at your route and think about where you want to place your boxes and how many times you're going to come out of that box as well. You know what I mean? Also, it's just when you run your conduit, okay, you need to plan, because you don't always want to be just what I call running conduit randomly, kind of like freestyling and just going with it and just throwing it up. Up, there goes an obstruction. Let me bend it. Okay, then you keep going. Up, there goes another obstruction. Let me keep going. Up, there's another one. Let me bend it again. When you could have just planned it, and maybe just, made one bend a couple of inches higher so that you can miss all of your obstructions. Or maybe even lower it a little bit. Um, so that's something that you need to know of as you're getting more experience. That those are things that you should start paying attention to trying to like hone in on your skills and trying to master your skill, as a conduit bender. Excuse me. That's something that you should do as a conduit bender. Uh, the important thing is it's not only about running conduit. What I'm trying to make a point of is too is your junction boxes, learning how to use your junction boxes, okay, not forgetting that every 360 degrees you need to place a junction box, okay. That's the most important thing that you need to do is learn where to place your junction boxes, okay. PC Noob, how are you? Glad that you joined us. If you don't want to come up and speak with us, you could always just talk in the room. The room that we're using is post questions here. In case you want to actually just type in some questions or whatever, you can do that there. So, like I was saying, learning how to actually use your junction boxes. Okay. Now, this is something that's going to come in time. It's not going to come right away, but you will learn. The same as, not only for 360 degrees, but also for, let's just say you're running a very far length of conduit. Over 300 feet of conduit. It's very far run. You might want to place some junction boxes in a spot where it's going to be easy for you to pull the wire and run that snake through that conduit. You don't want to put a box, somewhere where it's going to be 50 feet in the air, and you have so many obstructions in the way. Okay, so that's one thing. So those are things that you might want to think of when you're placing your junction boxes. It's not only about running conduit. Most of conduit benders, when you first start out, you get so happy on running that conduit that you forget about boxes. Not only that, but you forget about actually, when you have to pull the wire. Okay, now I'm not sure how things are done in other companies, but for the most part, where I've been at, whoever runs the conduit pulls the wire as well. So please, in the comments below, let me know. Do you actually pull your own wire as well if you're running the conduit? Let me know. That's something that I would definitely like to know. So yeah, placing your boxes at a decent distance, and in a place where it's going to be accessible for you and easy to pull the wire. Okay? And with that said, that teaches you a lot because when you actually start pulling your own wire, you start to learn and see that, damn, maybe I should have done this a different way, or next time I'm not going to put 490s on this run because it's so hard for me to pull this wire, you know. And with that said, I'm at a job right now where we actually have to pull solid wire. Okay, so we're running 3/4 inch conduit, half-inch conduit, and we have to use solid wire. Anything from 10 gauge and 12 gauge has to be solid. Okay, so that makes me rethink everything on how I want my guys to run the conduit. Okay, because just because I can run, 4 or 5 circuits of 10 gauge wires in a 3/4 conduit doesn't mean that I'm gonna do that. Especially with solid. That's something that I really had to rethink. You know, I that's something that solid is just so much different when it comes to pulling wire than actually stranded. It's not that hard. But it does make a difference. Especially when you start to pack that conduit. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, conduits, okay, also known as conduit bodies. Learning when to use those, and how to use those. Honestly, those can be a pain in the rear end sometimes when you wanna, you know, do a nice smooth run, and all of a sudden you have an LB somewhere that's up high on in the corner of a ceiling somewhere. So learning how to place those, as well. And for me, one thing that I don't like using at all, I'd rather just use an LB, is I don't like those pull elbows. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Those small radius um, pull elbows. I really don't like using those. I feel that if you can use that, you can use an LB. Excuse me. I just feel that those pull elbows are so like so tight, and especially in the situation, some situations where you're pulling a few circuits in, it can be it can be really hard sometimes. You know what I mean? That's why I really try to avoid using those pull elbows almost exclusively. I really do. I try my hardest not to actually use them unless I really have to, which there isn't that many cases when you actually really do have to use them. And also in the comments, please let me know, guys. Do you guys usually fill your conduits to the max? Do you fill them up with as many circuits as the code requires? Obviously, do you actually fill them up to the max? Or do you leave some space in there? So that your wires can pull easily, or maybe you leave some space for the future. I'm not sure. So please, in the comments, let me know. Do you actually fill your conduits to the max, or do you leave some space for future wires, future circuits, and whatnot? Also, do you pull spares? Is that something that you do regularly? Do you actually pull a spare circuit in there, or not? Or is that something that your company frowns upon? Please let me know in the comments. That's something that I really would like to know. Do you pull spare circuits for future use, or maybe not even for future use, for something in that job specifically that might just come up, in that instance. You know what I mean? So yeah, please also, yeah, let me know if you ever pulled solid, wire in your conduit, and if so, what were the reasons? Were there any any reasons that you had to? On our job, it's it's in our specs to pull 10 and 12 gauge solid if that's what we're using. So that's under the specs. It's not that it's a code thing or anything at all. It's just under the specs. So yeah. So back to these condolas. Learning how to actually place them, learning which one is the best condolet to use if you're gonna use one. As far as using T's, LRs, LLs, or even TBs as well, or even C condolets. I am a fan of the C condolets when it's a very long run, okay, and it's straight. If it's a straight run, I'm definitely a fan of it. Even if I'd rather put a C condolet than using LB if I'm turning a corner. If I could actually do a 90 and then after the 90 put a C, I will do that. But C condolets I do love because I don't have to put a box, okay, and I can just keep going with my fish tape and just keep going right on through, and that actually helps. Unless I know that in that area where my conduit is, that I'm gonna need to branch out somewhere to pick up another load. If I'm running a circuit that is going to be hitting multiple areas, then I'd rather just throw a junction box. This way I always have the option of picking up any loads in that area. I hope you know what I'm trying to say there. So also feel free to jump in here at any time that you want, PC Noob. If you have any questions or if you want to get up here and you have anything to say, please feel free to come up here. Excuse me, to come up here at any time. If you have any questions or anything at all. All right, don't feel like you're interrupting me or anything. Okay, so yeah, so like last week we were talking more for like the apprentice. This week here, I want to speak to more towards the like junior mechanic. Excuse me, towards the junior mechanic, and maybe even higher, as far as learning how to stay organized and not, you know, how some of us get lazy, always try to like learn how to do your job a little bit better. Try to come up with a system, okay? If you get a task to do, whatever it may be, and you have to run conduit, take a look at your route. All right, see how much material that it is that you're gonna, approximate how much you're gonna need. Grab everything that you're gonna need, and then start planning. After you start doing this, after a while, and you get a system, you become a lot better, more efficient, more productive. Okay, because you become more organized. Now, after you know your steps become second nature, and you can actually start executing your steps a lot faster. Then you learn how to even take shortcuts, with these steps, and you just become a lot more faster. But the whole trick is to first, you know, start making the right moves, taking the right steps, getting organized, grabbing your material, walking the route, okay, finding the best route, taking your measurements to make sure that you're gonna clear obstructions or whatever the case may be. Or sometimes, like I'm in a job right now where that's all coordinated already. So all I have to do is just follow my coordinated drawings, my shop drawings, and that's pretty much it. Most of the job is already done for me there. In that case, I can just grab my material and get to work and just follow my coordinated drawings. You know, in that case, everything is already done for me. But if it isn't, then like I said, find the best route, okay, and stick to it and just running your conduit. Take your measurements, bend your conduit, install. Take your measurements, bend your conduit, install. And it's just as simple as that. I've seen a lot of apprentices when they're first starting, and it's not their fault, it's because they're never taught the right way. Okay, they're taking their measurements, you know, they're bending, and then they're going back to take another measurement. They're not installing it. They're all out of whack, you know. And it's as simple as taking your measurement, taking your time to take your measurement, making sure that you're 100% sure that that's the measurement that you need. Bend your conduit, make any cuts that you have to, and then install it. Put your straps on and put all of that up, and then install it, and then go to the next piece of conduit. All right, and then the next, and then the next. Next thing you know, you're getting there. You're getting towards the end. All right. So after you start doing these steps, you know what I'm saying? They become second nature, and you just become a lot better. All right. Now, this was a topic that was asked for me to talk on. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Next week, guys, if you have any topics or any questions that you want me to speak about, please just leave them in my Discord or leave them on any of the platforms. Just make sure that you just drop them in. Drop a comment now. Let me know if there's anything you want me to speak about, and I will. Okay. Also, I'm on LinkedIn as well now, and on Reddit and Snapchat. If you want to go by and give me a follow, and I'd really appreciate all that as well. Now, I'm gonna try to actually come on Discord every weekend. I started from last weekend. I'm on this weekend. I had a following before. I'm hoping to get that following again. I was really busy for a long time, but I'm back now, and I'm hoping to get you guys to start listening again. As far as getting back on track with this conduit bending, all right. Another thing for mechanics and junior mechanics to think about is not only about the wires that you pull inside your conduit. You got to start thinking about, derating, and all that other calculation stuff that you need to know about. Okay, how many wires you can have in the conduit that you're running. All right. Then you need to know how to derate it. All right, so that you know the exact amperage that those wires are gonna carry. All right. So there's a big responsibility for you when you're actually starting to run conduit on your own. Okay. And it's something that you need to know. It's not only knowing the multipliers and learning how to bend and whatnot. Yes, there are a lot of conduit benders that are needed out there, but you need to know the full gist of the job. Okay, the wiring, the conduit bending. Okay, uh, connecting your load. All right, all the way down to the panel and everything that you're feeding. That's very important. I would like for some mechanics to actually step up and give me a comment, right now, down below, and let me know some topics, some good topics that I can actually speak upon to, you know, as far as the mechanics and the journeymans go, something that I could actually get you guys interested in, something that I could actually show you guys. For the most part, I've been actually catering to the apprentices for a long time. Uh, Obviously, they need a lot of help too. But if there's anything that I can talk about that's a little bit more advanced, I'm all for it. Just like I said, drop the comment down below and let me know. I don't have any problems with that at all. Okay, so yeah. So as far as the beginning goes, I was speaking about these boxes and J boxes, and for the most part, I'm actually talking about 4x4, 5x5 boxes. I'm not talking about larger conduits, 4 inch, 3 inch conduit. No, I'm talking about the small runs, your 3/4, your half inch, your 1 inch conduit runs. Make sure you're placing your boxes in an accessible area where it's easy for you to actually pull this wire. And I'm not just saying that for the code reasons, as far as it being readily accessible and all that. I'm saying that for the reason being that you're going to have to pull wire through these boxes. Okay? You don't want to have to pull wire, you know, 20 feet up in the air or with a 12-foot ladder and whatnot. I mean, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But always think about it when you're running your conduit. Place these boxes as if you're the one that's gonna actually run the wire, even if it's not gonna be you. All right, because the next man's gonna come and he's gonna actually appreciate that. He's gonna say, you know what, who did this work? This guy knew what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something that you should always think about when you're placing your boxes. All right, try to put them in the right KO. If you're only going in and out, then put them right in the center. Unless there's a reason why you need to actually, use another knockout, you should always try to go into the center of your box. Now, like I said, that's not always the case. There's always, reasons on why you need to use the other knockouts as well. You might have something, an obstruction right above the conduit, so you might have to drop the box and use the top knockouts. If that's the case, then that's the case. But other than that, trying to keep everything in line and the same, consistent, using all the center knockouts. Now, if you're gonna use that J box to come out more than once, then thinking about that, thinking about which knockouts you're gonna use, if you're going to branch out, then you need to know which knockouts you're going to use and how to place your box in an area where, it favors every which way you're coming out of that box. I'm not sure if I could explain it, to you well. Just basically planning. You got to plan on your junction boxes. It's not only about the conduit. I'm trying to make you think here about your J boxes as well. Okay, because that's really important as well. It's really important on where you place these boxes. Okay, another thing is always marking them. Mark your boxes, whether it be with a circuit or whether it be with the type of power it is, whether it be normal power, emergency power, life safety, equipment branch, critical power, whatever the case may be, figure out a way of marking your boxes so you know what they are. Okay, because when you're running conduit, okay, in a big area, and you have nothing but pipe and boxes everywhere, and they're all blank, that's gonna be, you're not gonna know what's going on later on. Maybe the next day, maybe a week later, you won't know what's going on. So it's best while the things are fresh in your mind to just grab a marker, excuse me, or whatever you use, whether it be labels or spray paint or whatever kind of system your company use, and mark your boxes so that you know. Okay, another good, a system that I use, is we're getting advanced here with, technology and whatnot. Almost everybody's starting to have tablets and whatnot, whether if it's the company providing them or they have it on their own. You know, you can actually, maybe digitally draw it out. Something simple. It doesn't have to be, fancy. Just draw out pretty much the area where you are, and just draw out where you have your boxes, so that you know where your boxes are, where the home runs are going to, and whatnot. That's all important. It's important to know that, because if you ever need to troubleshoot, during that job, during the time that the job is going on, you know where, your home runs are, and where what circuits, are where. So that's just something that's important. You shouldn't have to have your mechanic, or anybody telling you that, mark your boxes, just, you should know that already, okay? So also, if you have different panels, in commercial electrical, we have sometimes in one area we'll have, 4 or 5 circuits that are coming from 4 or 5 different panels. So you might not only have to put the circuit, you might have to actually put the panel number as well. And that's important. Okay, so that somebody knows that this is coming from the emergency panel. We cannot tap out of this panel. So that's important. It's important to know. Okay, but the main point was, for the boxes, is learning how to use them. Learning how to use them in regards to, like, so that you can avoid, you know using a bend. All right, if you can put a box in place of a 90, then that's a good thing. If you can, at the same time making it look good. If you can get rid of, a 90 with a kick with an offset, all that, with by just putting a box, then so be it. Because the one thing that I hate the most is when you start to get really experienced and become an experienced bender, you're gonna realize that we try really hard to not bend conduit. We try really hard to just keep it as simple as a 90, and that's it. Maybe go as far as a 90 and a kick. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, that's what I try to do. I try to keep my conduit as straight as possible, and maybe just make a turn. I'll make a 90, and I'll just keep going straight. If I have to kick it, then I'll kick it. If I'm pushed to it, then maybe I'll just do an offset if I have to, and whatnot. But for the most part, once you start bending for years on end, you what you want to see is clean work. And when I say clean work, I mean, not making so many bends so close together and cluttered. It just drives me crazy when I see so many bends cluttered together. I try to think about, was there a way that we could have avoided all of these bends? And most of the time there is. All you'll have to do is maybe place a junction box somewhere, and you can avoid all of those bends. You know, like yesterday, I mean, not yesterday, this Friday, I saw literally a box. It came out a box set, a 90, an offset, a 90 with a kick. I was like, Jesus Christ, there has to be another way to do this, but you know, and it whatnot. I mean, there are people that need to be trained, and for the most part, they're not being trained. And for those of you that are listening and watching my videos, I applaud you because it takes a lot to want to teach yourself and to want to learn. I know when I was coming up, I taught myself basically. You know, I also can't take all of my knowledge and experience and say that I did because I did have mentors that taught me a lot too as well. But for the most part, I was the one that reached out and actually, learned and taught myself to the point of where I'm at now. And I'm still doing that. Still continually learning. And that's why I love this trade because there's so much to learn. And even now, being in a position where I'm a little bit higher than I was before, you know, it's challenging. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing that I want you guys to do is challenge yourself. And with that said, if you're a mechanic or journeyman and you're thinking about making the transition to a foreman, send me a message. There's someone that I want to recommend to you guys. The website is Estimate Guard. Okay, just like how it's spelled, Estimate Guard. You can look him up on YouTube, look up his site. I mean, this guy is somebody that I vouch for. He's definitely the truth. And I wouldn't just be saying that. Like I actually believe in what he's teaching. So if it's something that you're not ready yet because you're just maybe an apprentice now, then that's fine. But I still think you should listen to this guy because even if you're an apprentice, it's good to start getting the knowledge now on your future. So with that said, his website is estimateguard.com. Okay, his YouTube channel is the same thing. He's trying to teach us foremans or journeymans how to make the transition to being a foreman or how to be a better foreman. Okay, and like I said, this is somebody that I'm actually staying in contact with, and I would definitely like for you guys to go and actually pay his YouTube channel a visit or his website a visit. Tell him that Holmzlaw sent you, Mel, and definitely that's something that I would like for you guys to do. Well, today was pretty eventful. Tonight was pretty long. I'm gonna actually, cut it short today. But yeah, I'm gonna cut it short today. Until next week, please, if you have any questions, any topics that you want me to talk about, just drop them in the comment below, or you can drop them in any one of the platforms that I'm on. Don't forget that I'm also on LinkedIn now, Reddit, and Snapchat. And yeah, so with that, if I'm actually going to see if I actually end it, but I guess not. So yeah, with that, guys, my name is Mel, and I'm out.